From Baylor College of Medicine, I was spearheading this research and as a leader to create protocols for studying coronavirus, technology called organoids that can be grown in a dish to mimic physiology of organ. This enables scientists to do is better understand a human organ outside the human body without a need of doing clinical trials. From the lab to the market, we spend billions of dollars. More than 90% of the drug fails at clinical trial. And you're not allowed to study these pathogens in a normal lab. You need what's called as a biosafety level 3. Including all this darkness, the light, the path that they showed me was so striking that I wanted to do it.
Hi, this is Amrit. We are at IIT Madras, my alma mater, and India's top university for people who like to build. We are here to meet some builders, ask them, what are you building? What does it take to build? And what makes IIT Madras the best place to build? Hello and welcome to the Best Place to Build podcast. Today we are sitting with Professor Anubama Rajan. She is a faculty in the Department of Medical Science and Technology. It's a new department at IIT Madras. She is also the principal investigator, the PI, for two of the labs at the department. I'm very eager to learn about them because this is not my field. I have no idea. Professor, welcome to the podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Professor, let's start with this thing that I learned from your website. You are the PI for Organoid lab, which is experimenting with mini organs on a dish. Did I get that correct?
You got it right.
Okay, so can you tell us what this lab does and maybe a little bit about the field?
Sure. So, OrgAmed is organoid assisted medicine. So, I work in a specific field called organoid biology. In simple terms, these are miniature stem cell models that mimic an organ. So, that's where you get the idea of organs in a dish. So, in about 2010, there was a group from Netherlands, and Hans Stever was the PI of the group, and he invented this technology called organoids, which are nothing but three-dimensional bunch of stem cells that can be grown in a dish to mimic physiology of organs. So to go into details about what is the physiology, if you take a gut, for example, we know gut is involved in absorbing nutrients, they make mucus to trap microorganisms, they excrete certain things. But traditionally, when we think in biology, there are something called cell culture model system and animal model. So the cell culture model system, for a very long time, people have used cancer cell lines to mimic a specific organ. But these organoids are different because they are not cancer cells. They are derived from stem cells of a specific organ. And these stem cells are like building blocks. So you can use this to go on to reproduce the similar system outside the human body. So the mini gut in a dish do make mucus. They actually can poop out like diarrhea. They can release fluid and swell in real time. They can absorb nutrients. So what this enables scientists to do is better understand a human organ outside the human body without a need of doing clinical trials, etc. And why was that important? Because for a long time, people have used animal models. And essentially, you can't study a human disease in a monkey or a rat because the symptoms are very different. So they needed a more appropriate model system to better understand human disease. So that's the fundamental principle behind Organoid.
Okay, so let me see if I understood this right. This an organoid is a mini organ, like a mini gut,
Yes.
which can mimic the functions of a gut, but
Yes.
sits in a Petri dish.
Yes.
How big is it? Sorry, I need to ask.
Sure. Actually, they are very miniature in micron scale.
Okay.
But what is so beautiful about them is they exhibit the same function that the gut on a larger level does.
Okay.
For example, gut is one example. I think one thing that we can much more easily relate is the respiratory tract. We make mucus, we have cilia on all of that. So these airway organoids in the dish also produces mucus. When you add a virus to it, it will make excrete mucus like how our nose does when we have common cold.
Okay.
So they will have a beating cilia to trap dust particles like how our nasal epithelium is lined with these things.
Okay.
So they are micron level system, but they exhibit the same function as a human organ at macro level.
Okay. If I may ask, how are these organoids built? Like, how, I mean, sorry, I have this vision in my mind from this movie called Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I don't know if you've seen it. It's
Yes.
these guys develop a machine to sort of shrink things. Is it like that?
So, okay, it goes back to embryogenesis, I would say. When we start as a single cell, right? And then there are several what we call as growth factors or development factors, which basically are signaling cues. Okay. So from a single cell, we become a bunch of cells. And from bunch of cells, we go on to become specific organs, and then we become a whole being. So as we go along this direction of embryology or developmental biology, the signaling patterns vary. So the signals that we receive for our eyes are different from brain, from our gut, hands, and so on. So what the developmental biologists, who are like the critical mass generators in this field, did was they identified what those signals are.
Okay.
And because they identified this, they said, okay, now if I know how a lung look like and what are the signals needed, and I take a building block of the lung and artificially provide that with the same signal, can I develop a miniature lung outside the body? So that's what led to development of organoids. The very first organoid that came into existence was the gut organoids. So Hans Kleber lab identified certain growth factors that are essential to maintain what's called as the gut epithelium.
Okay.
So
So if I can understand it, then the miniature organ is only a few microns, or maybe I don't know, like maybe 1,000 cells,
there are about million.
million cells.
Yes.
It may not look like the gut, but
Yes.
it mimics it.
Yes.
So miniature
Yeah.
lung. Are organoids available for every organ?
Yeah, it is I mean, right now, yeah, it's available for majority of the organs, and even if it is not, they are building it as we speak.
Okay.
So the field is very rapidly evolving. It was a bloom from 2010 to now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a hot field in the field of stem cell
Yes.
biology.
Yes.
And is this a tool that is used in drug discovery? Is that the
It
right?
is a tool that's widely adapted now in drug discovery. So recently, in FDA have made several rules and calls for to several labs, specifically asking for how to use organoids for enabling drug discovery, and even India is quickly adapting to it. So, in fact, I'm on the panel with ISO and BIS for developing protocols for creation of organoids as tools and platforms for drug discovery. So, to give you a relevance on why this is important,
Yeah.
um, clinically speaking and biologically speaking, if there is a drug that's coming out of a lab, from the lab to the market, we spend billions of dollars. But what goes into the market is only somewhere between 3 to 7%. 90 more than 90% of the drug fails at clinical trial.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. And that 90% results in billions of dollars getting wasted by pharma, by several healthcare sector fields. And one of the reason, if you can pinpoint and why this failure is happening, it's because the results that are produced from the lab are not translational.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is the results coming from mice, monkeys, cancer cell lines are not relevant to human biology.
Okay. So, a research lab working on a drug discovery has some concept. They do some kind of prototyping, simulation, whatever. Then they go to animal trials, and then they go to human trials.
Yes.
It worked in animal trials.
Yes.
They
Essentially.
think it will work in clinical trials.
Yes.
But after spending billions of dollars, they realize that it
Yes.
doesn't work.
Yes.
So they don't get approval, and
Yes. And then the drug is taken off the market, or it's not even approved to the market. So this model system was initially developed to understand the developmental biology, right? How organs work, how things evolve and stuff. But what people soon started saying is, hey, these are fantastic tools for me to model diseases. Now, because it's mimicking what human physiology looks inside our body, I can use this to understand human disease. And I can use the same methodology to develop drugs to treat the disease. So, in fact, like I have what's called as a 3D model, which is a develop the model to understand the disease, design drugs to target against the disease and then use the same platform to deliver for the disease to see whether in an artificial setup in the organoid, if you generate the disease, is the drug able to mitigate the symptoms or is it able to treat the disease? So this is one of the way by which my lab is focused on.
So can I ask that again? So is your lab developing organoids or is it using organoids for?
We do both.
Okay.
We do both. For example, my PhD background is in developing organoids to model human diseases. So I have expertise. If I have a clinical sample from a patient or a healthy individual who wants to donate a piece of their biopsy for some other screening purpose they use, I can make organoids from that patient, and I can also use the same organoids, which is a biobank, but also model diseases that are relevant to population. To give more precise example, I work on lung respiratory diseases. So right now I'm interested in understanding how viral infections in that's happening worsens asthma or it's a trigger for wheezing and asthma and chronic pulmonary diseases like COPD in Indian population. So I take these stem cells from the patients and sometimes from healthy individual. I make these organoids and then I induce asthma or COPD in them and then look at how the disease is progressing and then add a viral component and see how virus is worsening it or triggering for onset of asthma.
Okay. I'm just thinking as you were saying that is that breathing disorders are a very growing issue in India,
Yes.
especially because we have a seasonal pollution problem.
Yes.
Very interesting. I myself have a breathing disorder sometimes, not always, not as bad as asthma. So
I'm included in that too.
okay, nice.
Then what's funny is from the time I had wheezing as a child, and now and my child is going through the same cycle, we are essentially using the same drugs almost.
Okay.
And it is sad as a researcher to see that we have not advanced because we know there are so many things that we can change. It's just that we have not found it or it's not yet
Interesting.
approved. So
Yeah, I think when you start wheezing, it's only aspirin.
exactly. It's usually the inhaler that gives you bronchodilation and stuff. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you so much for giving me that context. I'm very curious to understand how you got into this field. Um, what was your school? What is your favorite subject in school? What is your subject in graduate school, and how did you come here?
Sure. I'm going to say it's biology, and I just want to add a little bit of story to it. And my interest actually started, or it started to mushroom when I was in my high school. Up until my 10th grade, it was physics, but my 11th grade biology teacher changed everything for me. So I was in a new school, and she came in and she was talking about microbes, how bacteria infects a person and stuff. And I was like so engrossed in the class that I did not take notes, and she threw a chalk at me. "You student, get up." And I was scared. And she was like, "Why are you not taking notes? Am I telling you a story?" It it actually took me a few minutes to realize that it's a class that's going on and I have to take notes. But whatever she said, it was engraved in my brain. So she gave a picture of biology that made me get interested in the concept of microbiology forever. So during my grad school, of course, I did not pursue medicine, but I went into the field of biotechnology. I was always fascinated by microbes, how diseases work, how human body exists, mainly because something that you don't see through your naked eye, but create a havoc and catastrophe and kill a person. How is it that it has the magnitude to do it? I was always interested in solving this puzzle. So for my graduate school, I went to Georgia State University and I was actually working on diabetes because that's a project that had funding and started on. And to be honest, biology interested me and I studied it, but it was not something that sparked me. And for something about handling animal models and rodents and rats in the lab, I was not quite comfortable. So when I was applying for my PhD program, I was specifically looking at programs that offer exciting courses on microbiology or virology and also alternate models for animal models. So that's when I stumbled upon Baylor College of Medicine, and there was this particular lab, which was where I graduated from eventually by Anthony Marasu. And Dr. Anthony Mariso at that time told me the exact same thing. Great to have you on. No, we have something called as mini organs that we grow on dish. If you choose to come to Baylor and if you choose my lab, this is the project that you will do. And that changed something in me. The fact I was as fascinated, like, how was it that you have a miniature intestine in a petri dish, right? Like, how are you able to grow that? How does it do? What is the biology behind it? What can we advance it to? So these were the questions I was really interested in answering. So I went to Baylor College of Medicine for my PhD and I worked in with Anthony Marisulla. So we worked on gut organoids to understand bacterial diarrheal diseases. In fact, we worked on a specific bacteria that's one of the most common cause of diarrhea in Indian population. Okay. So I always had that Indian content connection in my research. And for my postdoc, I wanted to get into something newer than gut organoids because the gut organoids had already migrated to India back then. Okay. In 2014, it was new, but by the time I graduated, 2018, it was already people were starting to use and stuff. So I knew if I want to go back to Indian academia, I have to bring something new to the table that did not exist in India. And when I researched about it, I realized airway organoids or lung organoids would be a pressing field for Indian context because we have major burden of tuberculosis, multiple respiratory diseases, and nobody was working at that time. So I switched to a similar field, but a different question, which involved using lung organoids. So my postdoc is from the group of Dr. Piedra Lab or Tony Piedra. He worked in respiratory viruses and he also tests vaccines for CDC at Baylor. So I started my postdoc investigating how airway organoids can be used to look at viral infections. So
Very interesting. So when the pandemic happened, it must have been a very, I mean, it feels weird to say it, but it must have been an interesting period
it
because
was
so many different things are happening.
yes. So I started my postdoc in 2019. And that's in December 2019 was when we got into this pandemic actually. So in fact at the journal club at Baylor at that time, we were discussing, hey, there is this crazy virus that's going on in Wuhan. What do you think it's going to happen? We had this, and within like a week into that discussion, we know we were already seeing a pandemic. So, but I think the worldwide pandemic was announced sometime in Jan Feb, but we were much aware of it. And as a result, when the whole world took a pause and the COVID was like stopping everybody's work because we were in a respiratory disease laboratory and in a respiratory infection disease laboratory, we were working crazily. So I was also spearheading what's called as biosafety level 3 research because for a virus for which there is no vaccine or medication available, you cannot do research in a normal setting. You need extra precaution, and that's called we have several biosafety levels for microbiology research. For example, I'm pretty sure if I take my hand from here, I will be culturing several bacteria from this table. But this we call it a normal part of our life. And there are certain infections that are transmitted, but you will recover from it. You are not going to die from that. And COVID was a pathogen at that time. Coronavirus have been around like for a longer time. But this particular strain was something that was creating or giving high mortality rate. And you're not allowed to study these pathogens in a normal lab. You need what's called as a biosafety level 3, where there is a lot of negative pressure. You need to get extra surveillance permission from CDC, from NIH to even look at those viruses or study the viruses. So Baylor, because I was involved in this and I was developing a model to study it from Baylor College of Medicine, I was spearheading this research and as a leader to create protocols for studying coronavirus in this model system under BSL-3 setting. So it was a very interesting and an intense journey.
As you're saying it, I'm just thinking that the life of an academic is quite complicated because you have to think of which fields are getting funding, which fields are more interesting, which fields are relevant to the society, and you have to sort of plan your career over many years.
You do have to plan your career. So in fact, they say it takes a village to raise a child. And I would say to shape a good academician, it takes plenty of mentors. It is just not your advisors. And I was blessed with many mentors throughout my career, and I still continue to seek mentorship. So I don't know if you know this person, Dr. Cherry Kang. She was at CMC Vellore before, and she's now the director of Bill Gates Foundation. So I once during my India visit, I took time and I went and spoke to her. See, I'm about to graduate. I want to come back to India. What should I do? Do you think do I have everything what it takes to be a good academician? And she was the person who said, Anu, it's not about how much you publish, where you publish. It's always about what are you going to bring to the table. So, is this something that's going to be useful to the community? Are you going to ask the right questions that's going to be useful for the Indian community? So, I want you to think about your research in that direction.
Okay.
So, that enabled me. So, I started thinking, right? Like, I want to go back, but when I go back, what am I going to give back? So, that question was always there.
Can I ask you a detail on that? You're saying I wanted to go back as if it's a given, but in your field, especially when the field is booming in the US and there's so much more funding available, why would you want to come back?
The fear did exist. Now I can confidently say I'm not succumbing to that fear anymore. What changed or what gave me a little bit of support or strength to address the fear was we had a workshop from India Alliance, and it was organized by a philanthropist, Meta Foundation at Houston. See, they got people from India Alliance, Welcome DBT is a funding agency in India who are actually promoting very high quality research in the area of life science. So we had Shahid Jamil from it, and he came and he spoke about how the funding ecosystem in India is actually changing. If you want to go back, there are these high competitive grants which pay similar to NIH level. And he opened my eyes when told essentially, if you want to do that, there are these pathways. And I hold India Alliance Fellowship is one of the prestigious fellowship to have. And I'm very happy and in fact, like little bit proud to say I have an early career fellowship from that because what I started making as a plan when it became real in life, it gave me so much joy. So yes, there are a lot of still we are the funding issues still do exist, but I think the government, several private organizations are seeing it. So if you can put your heart and soul and time to it, you can do good research in India. So the question is always like, do you? I mean, of course, I would have done well in US too, and I would have probably taken the same path. But coming back to India is always a good feeling because both myself and my husband we wanted to be close to our parents. So there is this home calling from a personal aspect, and when the professional aspect works, I think there is no other better place than being home.
Understood. Uh, Professor, as you're saying this, I'm thinking that you're saying that it was not too risky to come back to India from a funding perspective overall, but you chose to come back to IIT Madras for a new department, which before the call started, you said that at the time you joined didn't have a name board also.
Yes.
So that's a different kind of risk, right? You're joining a new department. First of all, I need to ask you about this also. Department of Medical Science in an engineering university, in an engineering campus, itself sounds a little strange to me. Is that so? And um, how did you convince yourself that this would be a good idea?
I was chuckling because, see, it is new if you think about it this way. It was not new when you take a step back outside India and look at how European countries, Western countries have looked at. Like there are Cambridge campus, Harvard, MIT, Stanford, all of them have had engineering schools and medical school. Somehow in India, we have had this disconnect from the beginning. It's just that it is just about time that we realized it and they formed this medical sciences and technology department. So it took multiple visionaries. Our director in our department, we have a very senior professor, Institute Professor Krishna Kumar, who were also led by several international advisors from who were Nobel laureates, who were from German universities, the head of the department, Bobby George, they all felt this is addressing the time of need. So they conceptualized what has been already going on. It's not like engineers are not working with doctors and doctors don't come to engineers for some help, but this department gave a place for them to be together. So that's what this department, it's not a new concept per se for me, at least as a personally. They just realized that yes, we need to earmark a space for this. And in this place, we are going to actively bring these individuals together to help the community.
Right.
So
it's not new across the world?
it's not new across the world, and even for India, that's what I'm saying. It's not like the engineers and clinicians were not working together.
They were
They were doing their things silently. But this gives to me, or at least in my opinion, this is giving you an active space for the students, for the medical community, for the engineering community to come together and do this.
Fair enough. I'm thinking a research lab, say at Siemens or Dr. Reddy's, would have engineers and
Exactly.
medical professionals.
Exactly.
So it's not like engineers go here,
Yes.
medical folk go.
Yes.
So this is more of an acknowledgement of a existing fact.
Yeah.
Just
But
that level.
what really drove is the passion of all the people who built this department. So, and I do have a lot to say for Professor Krishna Kumar, because he played a major role in setting up every brick of this department, I would say. And it takes a very strong leadership to see that this is needed, and the support that we have received from the institute director and my head of the department to actively set and grow in this area is just amazing.
Professor Krishna Kumar, of course, we call him RKK. He was a teacher of mine. I think he took a course for me. At the time, he was in mechanical engineering department, and he started the engineering design department. So this is his second department that he's founded.
I think he is somebody who's really good at establishing something new and let it grow and flourish. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a serial founder. I understand this. It's not absolutely new, but still, it takes some amount of courage to join.
It took a lot of courage, and I'm still going through that journey, I would say, because what I would tell, like, what strengthened me and what helped me continue to give back. So before joining IIT Madras, I did interview at multiple places for faculty position, and somehow, to be honest, I didn't feel the spark. It was like, going back to my master's time where I was working on diabetes and animal models. It did not give me the spark. So, whereas when I came to for the medical sciences technology interview, my panel members who were interviewing were all physicians.
Okay.
Okay, and when I told about this organoid technology, what I want to do clinical research, we, I, I would present for 10 minutes and then we would have 40 minutes of discussion. So I felt belonged here, to be very, very honest. Like I felt like finally people are hearing me. It's not like, it is the right place to be. I know when I started, there was not even a floor that was ready. We had nothing. There was no lab, no name board, no phone, no laptop, nothing. It was just me walking in. And during the interview, the building was still under construction. So I would step on a granite that was broken. There were wires hanging around. But even including all this darkness, the light, the path that they showed me was so striking that I wanted to do it.
Interesting. I do think that generally on campus, there is definitely a lot of curiosity about everything that's fascinating, that's new. And I do feel like the campus tends to attract the kind of person who wants to build something new. And I love that. And that's why this podcast exists.
Yeah.
Professor, now the department is set and it offers, Professor Bobby George, you mentioned, he's the head of department, and it offers BS, MS, PhD. Can you give us a broad idea of these programs?
So, the Department of Medical Sciences and Technology offers a BS program, which is called BS in Medical Sciences and Engineering. The students enter this program through IIT, which is the ICER aptitude test. And we do have a very stringent requirement, or we choose our students carefully. We take the top tier students. And what this program teaches them is like they get to mathematics, they have to have their mathematics from 12th. but they are okay to have either computer science or biology. So mathematics is an essential component because that's where the engineering comes into picture. And what we want our BS students to be is like they should know about biology, they should know about medicine, they should also learn about about engineering. The idea being they should have the ability to speak all the languages. That's when truly interdisciplinary work comes. So some of the foundational courses have anatomy, physiology. So they learn human anatomy and physiology like a medical student. They also have a lot of mathematical and engineering oriented courses so that they can learn to develop and design algorithms for human diseases. And they also have a lot of foundational level biology courses to know about the current trends and technology that goes on. And we have the MS and PhD program for research. And what's one thing very unique about our department is the MD PhD program.
Professor, before that, because you mentioned so many different kind of courses, it would require a very wide range of faculty, right? Like, how is the faculty organized?
So, in the larger context, our department have certain requirements or buckets for faculty. So we have three different disciplines, I would say. We have cellular physiologists. We also have clinicians. Cellular physiologists are people like me who are working on fundamental biology and asking clinically oriented questions. We have physicians who help us teach the anatomy physiology. And we also have the engineering bucket of faculty who teaches them essentially mathematics. So we have different flavors in the department. For example, Bobby George is a biosensor person. You were yourself mentioned about Professor RKK from mechanical background. So he has done a lot of mathematical modeling to understand human diseases, predict human diseases, the creation of digital twins. And there are also other, he teaches a lot of courses. I don't know how he does that. So he also takes about development of medical devices, how surgical instruments work, why is it that we are not developing these on our own, how to develop our own insulin pumps. So these kind of things. And then we have Professor Shrikant Vedantam, who's again a person who's much more on the, I would say, fractals, phase field element, finite element analysis, and all these stuff. And we have neuroscientists in the department, computational biologists. We have recruited multiple AI/ML people. One of them joined along with me, so they are more focused on machine learning. The other person recently joined. One focuses on ultrasound. The other focuses on machine learning and AI/ML for MRI, CT scan.
Okay.
We also have people who are doing medical device development, optoelectronics. So we have a bunch of faculty who are in different flavors.
Okay.
Hopefully, all of us.
What
will
about
do
people
this.
from the medical background?
So the department have these core faculties, and we also have 10 professors of practice. So all these professors of practice or POPs are clinicians who are there in multiple city hospitals. They are like the top-notch surgeons and physicians that you will say. So they actively take part in the growth of the department, and they offer a few lectures. I would say they don't run the course fully because their patient commitment and their social commitment is huge, but they come and give us a primer on what the students should focus on. And the students, for majority of our courses, they also spend time equally at hospital, so that whatever a classical example is a cardiomechanics course run by Professor RKK. So whatever concept he teaches in the class, the students go visit the hospital during the weekend and they see how the cardiomechanics actually work during a heart transplant. So this is a very unique opportunity that students have. Several of them are so fascinated. Like, how is it like a mathematical equation creating a blood flow in a live human? So in a heart transplant surgery and like valve replacement, how you place the valve actually plays a critical role than you would actually imagine. I mean, a biomaterial person would say this kind of material is what will give valve the lifetime. A biologist will say you have to match to the patient. A doctor would be more focused on the disease biology. But as an engineer, what is the degree or the angle which will allow free flow of the blood?
Sure.
So these are the things that we are enabling the students to actively think.
Very interesting. So there are different faculty from different
Yeah.
fields, ranging from math to AI/ML to engineering, hardcore
Yeah.
mechanical engineering to clinicians, cellular biologists.
Yeah.
That's very fascinating. So these students who join a BS in medical science, they have a 4-year course. Did you mention that they spend a lot of time in hospitals also,
Yes.
right?
And in fact, it is mandatory in their curriculum that they have to do hospital internship as a part of their regular internship. Usually in the second year, after the second year, during the summer break, they have to go spend about 10 days at AIIMS New Delhi to learn in general about how hospital system works, about the different departments in the hospital. And once they complete their overall training from AIIMS New Delhi, they have a 1 month internship at a local hospital at Chennai. So, where they start with a specific department after getting an overview, and then they have to identify a problem that the particular department faces,
Okay.
and they have to think about an engineering solution to it. So, this is a mandated internship as a part of their curriculum.
Understood. So these students, they seem, I feel very jealous.
Me too. I wish I could be a student in this department.
What do they graduate and do? Like, is there jobs? Do they go do research? Like, I know that the first batch hasn't graduated yet.
Yeah.
I think they'll graduate next year. No, to 2027.
2027, yeah.
So what is the department think they will likely do?
I want to say a disclaimer first. I'm a much junior faculty, but if I have the right to credit, senior faculty may have much more stronger response to it. But I would envision them into 4 different buckets. One could be the set of students who get interested in a specific topic that they learn here. So, of course, they will go pursue their masters either in this same environment or go seat themselves somewhere and do PhD and go on in a specific direction to develop a concept or a technology that they are interested in.
Like you have done.
Like I have done, a classical example. The second would be some of these students could land up in an industry, which could be a healthcare industry or something totally different too. But they are primed with enough fundamentals to go on down the road of an healthcare industry, which can be an electronics, which can be pharmaceutical, multiple different sectors.
Okay, so like a equipment manufacturer, medical
Medical equipment manufacturer
or
or
drug
drug discovery
discovery,
or surgical device
or maybe
development,
a vaccine company.
vaccine company. So these are all the second possibilities. The third would be a totally different field, of course. Like they probably found some other interest and they go on. And now, right now, in India's trend on having your own startup, or there's a lot of call for entrepreneurship and stuff. I also see some of these individuals could have products that they develop on their own that helps give back to the community. In fact, for majority of the courses, we do tell the students like today 90% of the equipments that we can get in the field of medicine are all imported, and the actual price of the equipment would be far less. But because there is a monopoly involved and there's lot of importing duty and stuff, we pay a lot more. This is one of the reason why surgery and medicine is so expensive. So if these students can find a way to do that as our own Indian component, that would mean a lot to the community.
Yeah.
So some of them could get actually invested in it and go on to develop their own medical devices and stuff.
Nice. Yeah, it would be nice to have an Indian company build a MRI machine or something like that.
Absolutely, right?
Professor, this is great. Thank you for sharing all this. You had started saying, and I cut you off, that the department also has other courses, not just the BS in medical engineering. Of course, that's an undergrad course. Are there postgrad courses? What do the courses look like? Where do they attract students from?
Sure. So we do have an MS program, PhD program, and what I'm really fascinated is the MD PhD program. So the MD PhD program is, I think this is very unique and the first time in India, where the goal is to develop physician scientists. So when you ask the question of like why, in an engineering school you have medicine, this is where I said you will see MD PhD programs in many Western universities, which is not new to them. So, in fact, my postdoc mentor was an MD PhD. So, here the MD is offered by Ramachandra Medical University, which is now called as Srihar, and the PhD is given by IIT Madras. So the goal again is to develop these physician scientists. So what this would enable us to bring or blend in engineering and other technology to solve medical problems. So this is one of the unique thing in the department. The second is we also offer PhD program to physicians. So in fact, for one of my class that I teach on engineering organoids, I have Dr. Karthik Kailash. He is a spine surgeon with probably like 4 or 5 decades of experience. I don't know exactly, but he takes this class and he brings in very interesting questions to the class. Like, okay, I want to develop these kind of spine injury models using organoids and stuff. So what this is enabling is allowing the doctors to come attend these engineering courses and learn about how can they use engineering to solve the most pressing problem in the clinic today.
That is damn interesting because I think that what happens in the medical field, doctors as they grow, they're used to getting these information or equipment or things from big companies,
Yes.
global companies. So it's they may feel very like their agency is completely lost. I can't figure this out. No,
Exactly.
I have to depend on someone else.
Yeah.
So this gives them an opportunity to go back and see if they
Yeah.
can.
So sometimes like these kind of evaluations also do happen, right? Like the department also has taken an initiative which is led by Professor Krishna Kumar, where he has pulled in several MSMEs, AIMS New Delhi as a sounding board to create our own medical equipment. So the doctors who take the class, who are a part of the PhD program, and some of these doctors are also POPs, so they come and tell, okay, this is what the community would need right now. So can we go? How about we go and do that? What are the things needed?
Nice. Thank you so much. Um, Now, I have in my notes that you are the PI for one more lab called Scoder. What is that about and
Sure.
how is that organized?
So, SCODER is actually a center of excellence for diabetes research, and this center gives prestigious fellowship for those individuals who are interested in working in diabetes research. Center is an initiative by one of our alumni, Mr. Shankar Subramaniam, and there's also a computer science blog that's named after him. So he is a philanthropist and he is also a businessman and he has several companies. So his objective was very clear. I want IIT Madras to work on diabetes research, but I don't want you all to do a blue sky research. I want you to work on technologies that will help some problem or most problem that the diabetic community faces today. So these PhD students that are recruited have a very specific goal. They can do their diabetes research in area, but as a PhD student, they have to develop a tool or technology that helps solving diabetes. So the Scoder have multiple questions and multiple problems, but all of that are mostly focused on a specific tool or technology that we will develop to solve that test. So that's the Scoder, and I co-head this with Bobby George, who is also the head of the department of MST.
It's damn interesting. You know, when I was in college at IIT Madras, I would have never thought that diabetes research would happen here. Or, I mean, I've met other faculty also. Somebody's working on the heart, somebody's working on the brain. And these are not things that I had imagined would happen here. But it's very interesting to see how an institute evolves over time and so on. Um, Thank you for sharing so much. Just, I want to deviate a little bit and go on to something totally different. Professor, you are very vocal on social media. You share a lot about your career, about the way you think and the way you've grown. How is it like being a faculty in the era of social media and a young faculty at the era of social media?
I think it's like, okay, in science we say either you publish or perish.
Mhm.
That usually talks about if you want to survive in academia, you need to continue to show excellence and stuff. But in the era of social media, you either show up or you are in your own domain and do stuff. And to be honest, I'm very talkative, but I'm talkative to individuals I'm comfortable with. So this was me breaking my barriers and learning to talk to my ecosystem. And I wanted to do this for a couple of reasons. One, having left the country in about 2011, 2012, when I came back in 2023 for good, I felt like I didn't know anybody here. But occasionally I will bump into individuals at conferences and stuff, and I'll just talk to them over a cup of coffee about like, okay, this is all happening and I'm finding this difficult, or this is really interesting. We are building this starting from the scratch. And one feedback that I constantly got was, Anu, your stories are really great. Put it down. Start writing a blog or on Instagram reels or something. And um, and I have kept going back and forth about it. So that was the initiative for the DMST diaries on my first year at DMST, and what it took to be back here and what it took to build something from ground up. So when I started this in this department, we really didn't have anything, but now I'll be happy to share some pictures. We have some of the amazing facilities that the country has. And of course, IIT Madras was the place to do that. And this would not have happened without the support from the seniors in the department and our director included. So,
Maybe you can convince the director to be more present on LinkedIn. I'm not sure he has.
I don't know if he has time.
Yeah, he doesn't
So
have
that
time.
that is the thing, right? With social media, it is. I also
Takes a lot of time.
it takes a lot of time. It's a responsibility. So initially, I started in summer with the goal of finishing this series in summer, but we are at the end of the year. So I'm like, at least by end of this year, I should finish everything that I wanted to say. It does take a lot of your time, and you also want to be very careful with your thoughts over there. You want to give a good impact and influence on individuals, but not otherwise. So that was the objectives. Like one particular event that changed me was like multiple young graduate students who are just starting their masters or ambitious to get into the PhD program. They'll be like, "I'm so inspired by what you're doing. Can you just tell how did this happen? What did you do? What challenges you faced? How did you overcome?" So it felt like, okay, I thought it was my personal journey, but it's having a good influence on someone.
Yeah.
So maybe before I forget, let me just write it down. So,
Makes
yeah.
sense. I'm just reminded of an interview I did with Professor Ravindran last year. And of course, he was not talking about his journey, but he told me that when he was young, he used to, and when he was a young faculty, he used to run a blog at the whatever early 2000s, maybe late 1990s. I was quite funny to hear him say that. Of course, now he's very busy and so on. But
Yeah. I mean, this is also another way to find people who you can connect to or to talk about things that you otherwise would not talk about. So I would say it's a sort of my therapy session sometime because, my mom has this habit. Whenever she goes through something strong, whether it is positive or negative, she would write it down. And I think it's just a gene that I've inherited from my mother, I should say. So writing it down makes me feel better about it, and also sometimes if I just don't want to hold on and think about all the struggles, it's a good way of passing it down and putting it to rest.
yeah.
So there are multiple reasons I started it.
Nice. I hope you inspire other faculty also to open up more, and we'll get to see generally people like me will get to see a little bit more about how faculty life is and what decisions are there. I think people tend to just think of them as teachers who give lectures and don't realize that their lives are quite complicated and a lot of things are there. Um, Professor, I want to ask you last question. I promise. Already taken an hour of your time. Um, In addition to being a faculty who takes courses and mentors students, you are a PI in two labs. One of them is fairly new, but one of them is more established. And in addition to all of this, you spend time on social media, you write about your experience, but you're also a mother of 3 children. Is that right?
That is right.
That is a job in itself and pretty hard. So my question really is, how do you manage these? And I think it's yeah. I mean, like yeah. I don't know what else to ask.
I they are my two sons and a star. I would say I have two boys and a girl. To be very, very honest, there are things that I try to think and do in my life with respect to my family. Mostly it's my husband's decision and God's blessing. So, one thing I would say is whether you're a mother or whether you have a personal life or not, your passion for science should never be put down. The fire in you would allow you, should continue to exist, and that's what propels you to keep going. So I had my first kid during my first year of PhD.
Okay.
And I was, to be honest, I was very nervous to go and tell my PI about it. So my advisor, Dr. Anthony Madras, so I thought he would be angry, upset, probably kicked out of the lab. I had all these emotions going through. And then I went to him and I told, see, I'm expecting, and I had my qualifier exam coming up. So I told him, say, I want to finish my qualifier as soon as I come back from maternity. But during my time off, this is what I want to do. So I wanted to go discuss with the plan with a whole series of homework that I did on how I would plan, expecting that he would be harsh. I think what he told changed my life. He was like, Anu, you are a human. You just got married. Of course, you need to have family. That should never come in the way of science, or it should never intimidate you from doing that. So when the way he handled how the whole concept of kids in academia was something that was very positively enriching for me. And he also said, Anu, I had my kid when I was also a graduate student, and I have 3 kids, and I had my other children during my postdoc. So whether it's a mom or a dad.
Yeah.
So during my qualifying exam, I used to rock my son on this arm, and I would write for my qualifying exam presentation and stuff using laptop here. The struggle is real, but do you enjoy both and do you want to do both? If the answer is yes, you will find ways to do. And of course, you need a supportive family. And I'm like, grateful is not the word. I have to invent some word to thank my parents, my in laws, and my husband, who all stood by me like a rock and who all continue to stand by me. So without that, this is not possible. It does take a village to raise a child. And also, as a woman, I will tell this it's not just about them helping, it's also about you telling them and asking for help. So,
Yeah, actually, as you're answering that question, I'm just thinking that um, the balance, I mean, the way our society is organized, and of course it should change, the balance for women, for mothers is harder than for fathers.
yes, but that's where I would go back to this whole concept of, empowering women. Why should this be harder for mothers?
Yeah,
It's an
100%.
equal responsibility.
100%. I think
Yeah.
our fathers should. I mean, I'm the father of a 12-year-old. I do think that in fathers should be more involved and
Yeah.
should take more effort.
Should be more involved is one way. And in fact, like my friends had to give me this intervention, right? As a woman, we typically have this expectation that husbands should understand us. They should see that, we are suffering, we are doing all the chores, we are taking care of the office. Well, why can't you get up, come and help? So my friends, I mean, however learned you are, there is always a spot where you can be as dumb as can be. So they're like, just go tell him you need help. And when you ask for help, and I don't know, I don't want to generalize men mindset here. Usual response is, I'll do it after 5 minutes. I'll do it after 30 minutes. And I'm a person who is very impatient. And it'll be like, you didn't do it, so let me finish. I didn't know to take a pause or break. Then I started communicate. I had to learn to communicate to my own husband, even though I lived with him for several years. Say, I am in pain. If you don't do this, I'm going to get frustrated. So whatever you are doing, unless it is very important, please come help me. So when I told what I was going through with him, it really changed. And that was, that happened because my friends had to give me that intervention. So it's not like men don't want to help, they just don't know that they have to help at a certain time, or they are not told how they should help. Is one view. But there are also other categories of men in life. I don't want to talk about it or touch on, but you always have to learn to articulate what you need, and you struggle so that people around you can understand.
And then just
Yeah.
and take the effort.
Take the effort.
Yeah, and step in.
Yeah.
Do you think that I mean, for women in STEM, of course, I spoke to a bunch of faculty who have come here, who mostly said that in general in undergrad and postgrad, there is a higher level of participation of women than earlier, but then it thins down later on in life as as women take more familial roles and so on. Is this a big concern?
This is definitely a concern, I would say. And there are multiple, I cannot put down my pen on one particular thing that's contributing to it. This is definitely a cumulative effect. So, as an undergrad, as a grad student, women's responsibility, I think, on a family level is far less. And the expectation is also far less. But as you grow up, you have multiple children in life, like one that you give birth to, and then the one who gave birth to you, and then there are your work children, and and then there is your life. So there are a lot of these personal factors that also contribute to how women start to choose family over work sometimes. And sometimes politics also kicks in. Like I say politics because, like, if a woman is not able to perform at a certain time, then they are judged harshly, and then they lack the opportunities to go up. And that typically, I feel like that's a threshold time or the rate limiting step for majority of the women is like their mid career, because that's when the majority of the men actually shoot up, because they did their work, they are at a job, they are just so focused, they come home and tell their wife or like the family, I'm just going to focus on getting this, getting this, getting this, and the next level. But this kind of thought process and even the empowerment, I think we are more afraid to do, and we have a lot more baggage to carry forward with. And there should be multiple things that enable women to do that.
Fair enough, from a storytelling perspective. And by the way, my mother was working throughout her career. She must have started in 1983, retired like 3 years back. So I think I've seen it firsthand, the kind of struggle she has had mid-career. Um, what I wanted to say was that from a storytelling perspective, sometimes people tend to focus too much on the beginning and the end, but actually it's the great middle where the whole story happens. And I think in careers also, the maybe the age 30 to age 50, so many things have to fall in place, and
Yep.
so many little nudges, so much support is required from everyone else.
And from you too. If you see, this is where,
Yeah.
I mean, we do emphasize on, family helping, your colleagues understanding, and all of that. But one thing I will strongly say to every woman is none of that will be useful if you don't prioritize yourself first.
Yeah.
So I told my husband, you mentioned I had 3 kids, right? Like, so I took care of the kids for the first 6 years. So this next 6 years is for me.
Fair.
So this is something I tell, like, either incubated them or breastfeed them. Now the next 6 years you have to step up. And I think you have to be very vocal about what you want, and you have to aspire to get what you want.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, then no matter how much others help you.
Yeah.
So women should learn to put themselves first, and they should not feel guilty to
Yeah.
put themselves first.
Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, in my career, I work with a lot of young dads, and many times we have these conversations saying, "Oh, I can't make this meeting because I have to drop the child, or I have to pick them up." Or I have had conversations with founders where they will message me saying, "I'm putting the child to sleep. I will text you after this is over."
Yeah.
Or you can literally like,
Hear them scream.
oh, yeah. So it's a different time, and I'm glad it's changing, and I'm
Yes,
so
yes,
happy for
yes.
faculty like you and people like you who are pushing the change to happen. Thank you so much. Okay, great. Long conversation. I learned something about embryogenesis, about organoids to start with, your personal research, this brand new department that IIT Madras has set up, this courageous part that all of you are taking, including the institute, the faculty, the students who joined. I had this experience, I want to share. I had this experience this year after the IIT exam, where there was a parent from Bombay whose child had done well in IIT. So they were considering IIT Madras this department, and she took so much effort. I mean, I actually all three of them, the husband, wife, and the child, but the mother was particularly insistent that they want to come here. Professor Bobby George entertained them, gave them time. It was great. I think the child finally chose MST, but the amount of curiosity that's there outside to know more about the department is
I
very.
think there are a lot of technologies that are in MST that still several of the Western countries are adapting. I'm very thrilled I'm excited and proud to say that because this is what Director and Professor Krishna Kumar told me when they recruited. Anu, you're coming from Baylor. If you want to set up a similar lab here, what will you do? So what we essentially did, or like we brought in amazing platforms, tools, technology that will enable any researcher to ask unimaginable questions that they would have traditionally not thought of. So the department is equipped with like state-of-art technologies, infrastructures, which integrates clinical science, which integrates medicine, which integrates researchers, which integrates also AI, ML expertise. We have two amazing faculty in the department, Dr. Pradeepa and Dr. Rupsa, who writes these programs and coding languages that will enable you to take the data that you get out of the lab, use all these algorithms and give you a predictable clinical result.
Nice.
So what we are doing in the MSc, I think will really change the way the clinical science work in the upcoming years. But we are just growing right now, so there is a lot of huff and puff around it. But I think I'm truly excited for what it has to be in the future.
Yeah, it's like joining a startup.
Yes, absolutely. I think I got a fair chance in experiencing it in academia, I should say.
Thank you so much, ma'am. This is a great conversation. Thank you, everyone. Please share, subscribe, like, drop a comment. Professor writes a lot on LinkedIn. You could follow her. You could visit her page, follow the department page to learn more about what they do. Thank you.